Welcome to Hanns Wolters International web tutorial series. This first episode is about our history. Hanns Wolters, born Hanns Woltsteiner, died December 12, 2000 at the age of 93, having led an esteemed life in the entertainment industry. It began in the roaring 20s of Berlin, Germany, when he was impresario to major British orchestras like Jack Hilton and Marek Weber. Hanns Wolters also booked Marlene Dietrich on her first gigs as a hand and leg model until her breakthrough role in Blue Angel and departure for Hollywood. She never forgot her first impresario and saved his life by securing the paperwork for him to leave Nazi Germany and escape to Paris. Hanns Wolters was married to Mitzi Behrer, who was sharing the limelight at Berlin's famous Metropole Theater with the legendary Fritzi Mazzari. After Miss Dietrich rescued them, it was quite difficult for the young couple to make ends meet in France. They could not obtain permission to work. The little money they were able to sneak out of the country evaporated quickly. But they were alive, unlike many of the people they had left back in Germany. When Hitler invaded France, again the young couple had to flee. This time they followed the advice of his father Max Woltsteiner, and they left for Karlovy Vary in the Czech Republic to meet with him. The reunited family went from Karlovy Vary to Prague, where the father had arranged for tickets and money to go to Palestine. Then Hitler raided Czechoslovakia. The Gestapo took most of the family possessions shortly before their departure and froze all of their bank accounts. Wherever I liked to be, Hitler got jealous, and he invited himself to come there too, Hans used to joke. After intense negotiations, Max was able to free some money and get the tickets for the family to leave the next morning. It would be the last night the family would ever be together. Max died shortly after their last supper from a massive heart attack. Hans and Mitzi had to leave the next morning without being able to attend his father's funeral or sit shiva, a sad fact that Hans resented for the rest of his long life. Hans recalled his first impressions of Palestine. The boat was arriving, and in front of us was the pier, the white desert, a couple of houses and tents, some fishing boats followed by palm trees and camels. Hans obtained an assignment and joined the army. He was responsible for troop entertainment. Hans found himself running up and down the streets of Tel Aviv and Haifa trying to find new talent, mostly singers and dancers, while Mitzi was performing as part of the Troopers show, every night to entertain the troops, while also acting as a creative director. After the Australian and British troops left Palestine, Hans had virtually no income prospects. They left Palestine with no money for the USA on the MS Bremen. Upon his arrival in the USA, he found work as a host in restaurants, amongst other odd jobs, peculiar to a German gentleman. His first job back in the entertainment industry was given to him by Jules Ziegler in the late 50s. Mr. Ziegler was the owner of an established talent agency located on Fifth Avenue with many ties to film and television companies in the USA. Hans' first job there was to take care of the newly founded international voiceover department. He was working at the agency during the day, and at night he was still hosting in restaurants. A big new translation company in Detroit offered him exclusivity for his clients to record international voiceovers. Jules Ziegler was not willing to accept the job for little money, but Hans did, and he started his own business in 1962 under the name Hanns Wolters Theatrical Agency. The business blossomed quickly because during this time New York was converted from Radio City to Television City. He was soon able to move his agency into the prestigious 342 Madison Avenue building, adding advertising agencies, film production companies, and the television industry to his clientele. Finally, Hans could afford Mitzi a decent life. They could travel and move to posh 80 Park Avenue. The 60s and 70s proved to be a stable and successful time for the couple. Finally, they achieved the fulfillment that had so long eluded them. In the early 80s, the rents for commercial buildings skyrocketed. Mitzi was in her 80s and her health was in steady decline. After 50 years of marriage, they started to downsize and moved from the prestigious 342 Madison building to a smaller office at 10 West 37th Street. Hanns Wolters, contrary to his wife, who was now retired, continued to go to the office every day to supervise activities from 10 to 1. He was in his 80s. Retirement from what, he always asked. In 1985, his wife died of a heart attack at the age of 95. Hans was never the same. His own health deteriorated soon after. Hanns Wolters died in December of 2000 at the age of 93. All of us here at Hanns Wolters proudly continue his legacy. If you like to read more about the legacy of Hanns Wolters, go to our website at www.hannswolters.com.